Scorch Trials, Chapter 57, on this PDF, page 187. Despite the wind and the hub of people, the world quieted around Thomas for a minute, as if his ears had been stuffed with cotton. He fell to his knees and numbly reached out to the flapping orange ribbon. This was the safe haven? Not a building, a shelter. Something. Then, as quickly as it had disappeared, sound rushed back in, snapping him back to reality, mostly the rush of wind and the chatter of conversation. He turned back to Teresa and Minot, who stood side by side, Eris behind them, peeking over their shoulders. Thomas glanced at his watch. "We have over an hour left. Our safe haven is a stick in the ground." Confusion muddled his mind. He wasn't quite sure what to think. "Wasn't so bad when you think about it," Minot said. "More than half of us made it here. Looks like even more of the girly group." Thomas stood up, trying to control his anger. "The flare turn you crazy already?" "Yeah, we got here, safe and sound, to a stick." Minot scoffed at him. "Dude, they wouldn't send us here for no reason. We made it in the time they gave us. Now we just wait until the clock ticks down and something'll happen." "That's what worries me," Thomas said. "Hate to say it," Teresa added, "but I agree with Thomas. After everything they've done to us, it'd be way too easy to have a little sign here, and then they come and get us in a nice helicopter as a reward. Something bad's gonna happen." "Whatever you say, traitor," Minot said, his face hiding none of the hatred he felt for Teresa. "I don't want to hear another word from you." He walked away, angrier than Thomas had ever seen him. Thomas looked at Teresa, who was visibly taken aback. "You shouldn't be surprised." She just shrugged. "I'm sick of apologizing. I did what I had to do." Thomas couldn't believe she was serious. "Whatever. I need to find Newt. I want—" Before he could finish, Brenda appeared out of the crowd, glancing back and forth between him and Teresa. The wind tore through her long hair, whipping it frenziedly so that she kept pushing it back behind her ears, only to have it fly out again. "Brenda," he said. For some reason he felt guilty. "Hey there," Brenda said, walking up to stand right in front of him and Teresa. "This the girl you were telling me about? When you and I were snuggling in that truck?" "Yeah," the word popped out of Thomas's mouth before he could stop it. "No, I mean, yeah." Teresa held out her hand to Brenda, who shook it. "I'm Teresa." "Nice to meet you," Brenda replied. "I'm a crank. I'm slowly going crazy. I keep wanting to chew off my own fingers and randomly kill people. Thomas here promised to save me." Though she was obviously joking, she didn't even crack a smile. Thomas had to hide a wince. "Funny, Brenda." "Glad to see you still have a sense of humor about it," Teresa said, but her face could have turned water to ice. Thomas looked down at his watch. 55 minutes left. I need to talk to Newt." He turned and quickly walked away before either girl could say anything. He wanted to be as far away from both of them as possible. Newt was sitting on the ground with Frypan and Minot, all three looking as if they were waiting for the end of the world. The tearing wind had gained a moisture to it, and the billowing, churning clouds above them had lowered considerably, like a dark fog dropping to swallow the earth. Glimpses of light flashed here and there in the sky, burning patches of purple and orange in the grayness. Thomas hadn't seen an actual lightning bolt yet, but he knew they were coming. The first big storm had begun just like this. "Hey, Tommy," Newt said when Thomas joined them. He sat down next to his friend and wrapped his arms around his knees. Two simple words with nothing behind them. It was as if Thomas had just gone for a leisurely walk instead of being kidnapped and almost killed. "Glad to see you guys made it here," Thomas said. Frypan snorted his usual animal-like bark of a laugh. "Same back at ya. Looks like you had more fun, though, hanging with your love goddess. Guess you two kissed and made up." "Not exactly," Thomas said. "It wasn't fun." "Well, what happened?" Minot asked. "How can you trust her after all that?" Thomas hesitated at first, but he knew he had to tell them everything, and there was no better time than the present. He sucked in a deep breath and started talking. He told them about Wicked's plan for him, the camp, his talk with Group B, the gas chamber. Still, none of it made sense, but he felt a little better telling his friends. "And you forgave that witch?" Minot asked when Thomas finally finished. "I won't. Whatever those shuck wicked people want to do, fine by me. Whatever you want to do, fine by me. But I don't trust her. I don't trust Eris. And I don't like either one of them." Newt seemed to consider it more deeply. "They went through all that planning and acting, just to make you feel betrayed? Doesn't make any bloody sense." "Tell me about it," Thomas muttered. "I have, and no, I haven't forgiven her. But for now, I think we're in the same boat." He looked around. Most people were sitting down, staring off into the distance. Not much conversation, and not a whole lot of mingling between the two groups. "What about you guys? How'd you make it here?" "Found a gap through the mountains," Minot said. "Had to fight through some cranks camping in a cave, but other than that, no problems. Food and water's almost gone, though, and my feet hurt. And I'm pretty sure another big bolt of shuck lightning's about to come down and make me look like a piece of fry pan's bacon." "Yeah," Thomas said. He glanced back at the mountains. "Guess that all in all, they'd probably come about 4 miles from the base." "Maybe we should bag this whole safe haven thing and try to find shelter." But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't an option, at least not until the time ran out. "No way," Newt replied. "We didn't come this far to go back now. Let's just hope the bug and storm holds off a little longer." He looked up at the almost black clouds with a grimace. The other three gladers had grown silent. The wind had continued to pick up, and its rushing roars and whips now made it hard to hear each other anyway. Thomas looked at his watch. 35 minutes. No way this storm would hold off for... "What's that?" Minot shouted, jumping to his feet. He pointed at a spot over Thomas's shoulder. Thomas turned to look as he stood up, alarm igniting inside him. The terror on Minot's face had been unmistakable. About 30 feet from the group, a large section of the desert ground was opening. A perfect square, maybe 15 feet wide, pivoted on a diagonal axis as the dirt-packed sides slowly spun away from them, and what had lain underneath rose up to replace it. The sound of groaning, twisting steel pierced the air, louder than the roaring wind. Soon the rotating square had fully flipped, and where once had been desert ground now lay a section of black material with an odd object sitting on top of it. It was oblong and white with rounded edges. Thomas had seen something just like it before, several of them in fact. After they'd escaped the maze and entered the huge chamber where the grievers had come from, they'd seen several of these coffin-like containers. He hadn't had much time to think about it then, but seeing it now, he thought those must have been where the grievers stayed. Slept? When not hunting humans in the maze. Before he had time to react, more sections of the desert floor surrounding their group in a large circle started to rotate, open like dark, gaping jaws. Dozens of them.